Let's face it, there's nothing more frustrating than dealing with a woman who doesn't seem to care. You're giving your energy, your time, maybe even showing your best self, and what do you get in return? Silence, indifference, cold reactions. In the modern dating world, it's brutal, because attention is cheap and interest is short-lived. Women are surrounded by options. So how do you stand out? How do you get her to miss you, even when she acts like you don't exist? Here's the truth most men never hear. You don't make a woman miss you by doing more. You make her miss you by becoming someone worth missing, and by pulling back at the right time. It's not about chasing, convincing, or trying harder. That's weak energy. That's what 95% of men do, and it pushes her further away. You want to be in the 5% who understand how desire works. If a woman isn't interested, it means she doesn't feel emotionally pulled toward you yet. That's not your cue to overcompensate. It's your cue to flip the game. You want her to think about you when you're not around, replay conversations, stalk your social media in silence, and start to wonder, why do I keep thinking about him? That's how emotional hooks are planted. In this video, I'll give you 7 clear, psychological, and strategic steps that will flip the script. Steps that don't require begging, chasing, or pretending. These are tactics that work even when she's not into you, because they put the power back in your hands. Get ready to change how you move. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding what creates value, desire, and mystery in a man. 1. Don't try to impress her. The first mistake most men make with a woman who isn't showing interest is this. They go into impress mode. They start trying too hard. They flex their job, their car, their body, their lifestyle, all in hopes that she'll finally look their way and say, wow, maybe I overlooked him. But here's the truth. That's not how desire works. Trying to impress a woman who's not interested will only reinforce one thing in her mind, that you're beneath her, that you feel the need to prove your worth to her. And once she senses that energy, it's over. She may smile, she may act nice, but deep down she already knows. This guy is too eager, and nothing dries up attraction faster than a man trying too hard. You want to make a woman miss you? You don't do it by putting on a show. You do it by being centered, calm, detached. You don't give her your resume. You give her presence. You show up as yourself, without the hunger to win her approval. Because here's what women are drawn to: the man who doesn't need them to feel valuable. Women are naturally curious about the men who seem self-contained, not constantly trying to win them over. If she senses that your self-worth depends on how she responds to you, she will never miss you, because there's no mystery, no confidence, no emotional tension. When a woman isn't interested in you, your power lies in not reacting. Most men get emotional. They change how they talk. They overanalyze everything she says. They ask mutual friends for advice, and worse, they start giving her more attention, more compliments, and more access. But attention is not value. If you give too much of it, you become disposable. You become noise, and you will never be missed if you're always available. Instead, show restraint. If she sends a dry text, don't double text. If she ignores your message, don't follow up. If she seems indifferent in person, keep it light and then excuse yourself. That's strength. That's the kind of move that makes her stop and think. Why didn't he try harder? Why didn't he seek validation? Is he not affected? That's when she begins to question her perception of you. And that is when the seed of curiosity is planted. A woman will never miss a man who acts like every other guy she's met. She will never miss the man who performs for her. But she will absolutely think about the man who shows up with value and then walks away without fear. You don't make her miss you by proving how good you are. You make her miss you by not needing to prove it at all. 2. Become a man of mystery. If you want to make a woman miss you, especially one who isn't showing interest, you have to become unpredictable. You have to make her wonder. Curiosity is the beginning of attraction. And mystery? That's the fuel that keeps it burning. The problem is, most men lay all their cards on the table too early. They talk too much. They overshare their feelings, their intentions, their plans. They try to connect quickly, thinking honesty and openness will buy them affection. But what actually happens is the opposite. The woman figures him out too fast. She boxes him up, labels him, and tosses him in the mental friend zone, or worse, the category of one of those thirsty guys. There's no chase, no curiosity, no edge. She knows what he wants, and that predictability kills any desire to even think about him later. What women truly crave is emotional tension, and you create that by not being fully accessible. Not in a rude or manipulative way, but in a way that makes her feel like there's something beneath the surface she hasn't figured out yet. She has to sense that there's more to you than what you've shown. That maybe, just maybe, she's missing out on something if she doesn't pay closer attention. When she doesn't know everything about your life, your mindset, your intentions, she starts filling in the blanks on her own. She starts imagining. She starts wondering what makes you tick. That's how she starts mentally and emotionally investing. A man of mystery is a man who keeps a woman's mind working even when he's not around. And the moment a woman starts thinking about you in your absence, she's already beginning to miss you. This doesn't mean you play games. It means you stop handing out free emotional access. You don't tell her your whole life story in a week. You don't explain every emotion you feel. You don't let her know exactly where she stands with you every second. Instead, you let her experience you in pieces. You speak with purpose, you listen more than you talk, and you move like someone who knows he's the prize because you are. If she asks you what you're doing later, keep it vague. If she wonders why you're not always available to reply or call, let her sit with that. You're building something far more powerful than instant attention. You're building space for imagination. Here's the truth. Women don't miss men they fully understand. They miss the ones who made them curious, the ones who didn't oversell themselves, the ones who made them feel something without always spelling it out. That's how you draw her in without even trying. That's how you get in her head, even if she never saw you coming. And once she starts thinking about you when you're not around, interest begins to replace indifference. 3. Master the art of disappearing. If you want a woman to miss you, especially one who isn't showing any interest, you have to learn one of the most powerful tactics a man can use in modern dating: silence. Disappearing is not about ghosting. It's not about punishing or avoiding. It's about stepping back with purpose. It's about removing your presence in a world where women are used to constant validation, constant messaging, and constant male attention. When you disappear, not out of anger but out of self-respect, it sends a message that speaks louder than any words. I do not chase what does not choose me. Most men fear disappearing because they think it's the end. They assume if they don't stay in her face, if they don't check in, call, or send that next text, she'll forget about them. But what you don't realize is this: when you're always present, you give her no space to feel your absence. Think about that. When you're always around, she never has to wonder where you went, what you're doing, or why you've gone quiet. She's never given the opportunity to feel the lack of you, and until a woman feels the lack of your presence, she'll never miss you. She'll never value your energy. Disappearing is a psychological reset. It's you breaking the rhythm. If you've been engaging, initiating, or even just subtly making yourself known, stop. Pull all of it back. Quietly. No announcement, no drama, no emotional explanation. You simply step back into your life, your goals, your mission, and let her sit in the silence. This silence forces her to confront something real, the space you once filled. And here's the catch. If she wasn't interested in you before, this silence might be the only thing that triggers a shift. Why? Because people only start to appreciate consistency once it's gone. And if you've been showing up regularly, your absence becomes the contrast. Now understand, this tactic only works if you've already shown enough value for her to remember. If you are clingy, desperate, or overly available, your silence may feel like a relief to her. But if you are calm, composed, respectful, and intriguing, that silence becomes a question mark in her mind. Why did he pull back? Did he lose interest? Is he seeing someone else? These thoughts are emotional triggers, and emotional triggers lead to curiosity. Curiosity leads to checking your social media, asking about you, and eventually missing your energy. The key to disappearing is to do it from a place of strength, not revenge. You don't vanish hoping she chases you. You vanish because you refuse to keep watering a dead plant. You move like a man who values his presence, who's aware of his worth, and who won't force connection where there's none. And that's the kind of energy women remember. That's the kind of man who makes them second-guess their indifference,